Well, good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today what I've been thinking about is getting out and exploring new areas, because if you've seen the last couple of videos, I've been to locations that I've never been before, and that's kind of got me really into exploring my local surroundings a little bit further afield, maybe 10-15 miles away, just to see kind of what's there. And I think it's a big part of landscape photography is getting out there and exploring these new places, because you're going to get those unique shots by doing that other people haven't seen or very few people have seen. And those are going to give you the best chances of getting your work out there, I think, is getting these unique shots. We all love to go to these fantastic places that everybody goes to, but finding these things that are special to you are really going to make all the difference. So that's what we're going to do today, and explore some more of this area. And with that in mind, what do you have to take into account? Well, the weather conditions are really, really important, because you kind of have to work with what you've got. You might have limited time to get out and explore these places, so you kind of have to work with what you have. So today, what am I seeing? Well, I can see we've got quite a lot of wind today. It's really overcast. We're getting a lot of showers moving through. So I'm going to have to work with that. Now, the wind, obviously, we're going to get a lot of movement in trees and things like that. So I can see that a lot of shots to do with rivers and water I might struggle with, or I might have to take multiple shots for. Other than that, I'm going to have to freeze the motion and use fast shutter speeds, high ISOs, because it's quite overcast and dark today. So in order to freeze that motion, it's going to be high ISOs. But it's all these things are going to be whirring around in your mind, and the more that you get to learn to deal with these situations, the more that you can plan for what you're going to shoot. So as you can see, this is how I actually find places. It's just a case of going down these roads that you don't normally visit, seeing what's down them. That's the only really real way to find different locations, is just to explore the surrounding areas. And as you can see, I've just visited that castle back there, which I think will be a fantastic shot at some point. But as you can probably hear now, rain is absolutely hammering off the car. So it's going to be a case of I've spotted another area to walk into, so I think I'm going to see if this clears out a little and then go and explore that. But at least I can put a pin on a map to come back to this when conditions are better and get a different shot. I had kind of hoped that today, because of these dramatic weather conditions we're coming through, that maybe I'd get some real nice dark looming clouds over the back of that castle, which would really work well for it. But we'll have to see if it clears up a little later. Anyway, let's go and head out a little further out to another location I've seen and see what we can make of that. So the weather's gone totally downhill today. It's blowing an absolute hoolie. There's branches falling off trees. It's chucking down with rain. But I've spotted a little composition that I think will work. The gatehouse for Ridley Hall is just through the trees over there. I'm not going to be able to walk you through this on the back of the camera. It's way too sketchy. I'm right on the side of the road here. But I can see that looks as though it might make a really nice pano. So I'm just going to stop and grab this shot while I'm out. I can see that there's a bit of sky above there. If I just kind of spin you around, maybe you can see just through the trees there, in that direction. That's where the house is, and above it, not too far above it, I've got sky. So I might struggle to kind of eliminate that, because it's just white. There's no texture or detail to the clouds or anything above it. So I want to eliminate that as much as possible and just get a nice pano with that gatehouse in and the lead into through those trees. And I think what I'll do is possibly just, as I say, crop it down to that pano and use the long lens to get tighter in. But I'm going to get set up, grab that shot, and I'll pop it up next for you. Now, obviously, we're not going to get award-winning shots today, but it's more a case of getting out, exploring these areas and being able to mark them down to come back to later, especially now that it's almost coming to the tail end of summer, and especially here, some of the trees are already starting to turn. So with autumn in mind, that's what I kind of look for, is these little shots that are going to work well in autumn. Like that previous shot I just took there, it's nice with the greens either side, but when those trees are in autumn colour, I think it'll just bring it to life even more. So this is one of the areas I wanted to explore today, and it was one of my main focuses for coming in this direction in the first place, but it just makes sense to go and explore all these other places on the way. And I've kind of taken shelter out of the rain at this point, because obviously it's just not going to happen taking a grand landscape in these sort of conditions. The sky's just bright white, there's no texture or anything left, so I'm just going to focus in on using what I have. And what I have is a woodland area, so I don't have to worry about the sky here, because the majority of cases I want to eliminate that anyway. In this little frame I've got lined up here, you can maybe just start to see it. I'm going to get you to the back of the camera and actually show you it, but I've got a little bit of sky creeping in from the top left, and the reason for that is the focus of this image is basically the lights and darks, the shadows and the highlights. So basically I'm getting dark tree trunks, if you like, with the side light coming in and hitting the trunks further off in the distance, and I'm using that to my advantage. But I'll get you to the back of the camera and actually show you. So what you'll actually see is I've got this lovely pano format lined up, and it always works well for me in these woodland conditions. However, what I'm focused on, you'll see this, if I select my focus point now, you'll see I'm focused on the darkest tree trunk, and that's an oak tree back there. Behind that I've got pine trees, Scots pine, and then off to the right as well, just on the edge of that frame, there is another oak tree there. And there's quite a few through this woodland. It's a great find, this place, because it's going to be absolutely epic in autumn conditions. There's just so many different compositions I can see running through here, and I've only just scratched the surface of this little area. So as you can see, it'll be dark on the screen that I'm recording it with. It doesn't look as dark on the back of my screen. But the reason for it is because it's windy in here, I don't want motion or movement in the branches. So what I'm having to do, because I want to retain sharp focus through, I want to be at f16 because I'm on immediate format, so that's the sharpest for me at this moment in time. I'm at ISO 4000. I'm about 2 stops under at that, so I'm ISO 4000, f16, and I'm at 1/80th of a second because I'm at 40 mil, so I'm doubling that, so I want to be at least double that. So I'm around about 1/80th of a second, and it's a simple image, there's nothing to it. All you can really see is I've got this lighter area up in the top left corner, and I want to make most of that. Basically because it gets light in that top corner, and then it's a slow gradation all the way across to the right where it gets darker in the frame. So I really want to focus in on that. And obviously, as I said at the start of this, it's all about the highlights and the shadows with this image. So simple image, nothing to it, 2-second timer. I'm just waiting for the wind to die down as much as possible. Focusing on that oak tree there, it's roughly about 1/3 of the way in on the intersecting lower third line there, and then I'm just going to grab the shot. So for this next shot, I've got this beautiful scene behind me here. You've got this fantastic pond. Well, yeah, it's a pond basically, but it's absolutely filled with weeds. So obviously it's not been looked after for some time. Obviously it was a lot bigger than it was, but because of this, there's some beautiful oak trees either side. You've got this lovely foliage. You've got some lovely ferns. Well, bracken it is down here. I'm not going near it because it's a tick fest probably. But the bracken is adding a really nice element to the frame down in this lower section, the lower corner. Then you've got those beautiful overhanging oak trees back there, and also just fantastic scenery really. It's beautiful, and actually on the little pond itself there's actually some lily pads, and they're just opening. Obviously I can't get to them because they're way in the middle, but they're just starting to open and flower as well. So it's a fantastic little location. I can definitely see this working when the autumn colours are here. This whole area is just fantastic. This whole thing's just turned into a woodland fest, because now that I've discovered this place, there's just so many little areas to come back and photograph. And this is what makes all the difference. Exploring these little places that you might not think have anything is always worthwhile, because I'm just finding shot after shot here that I can come back to at a later date. Now, just on the way back to the car, this is the other thing to keep in mind, is to keep your eyes open both directions. And what I mean by that is you'll be on the way to go and investigate something and not see shots, and on the way back there's a completely different perspective, so always double check both ways. So on the way back to the car I noticed this shot of the farm, which is just sitting in the valley there, and you can see the valley go off in the distance, and then you've got lovely texture in the clouds that weren't there before. So I'm going to grab this shot. You've got the livestock, obviously cows in the field as well, which kind of add to the story as well. So I'm going to grab this shot while I still can, get this beautiful texture that's in the sky, and yeah, this will probably be the last shot of the day. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's video. The whole point of it though is to get out and explore your local area. Don't let it slip by, because you can often find these little hidden gems everywhere that you didn't even think about exploring because it was literally on your doorstep. We can all get blinded by what's further afield, but you tend to disregard what's round you, and it's a real shame because there's lots of these little places to explore. I for one will definitely be coming back to these locations because there's so much here that I can work with. As I say, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's video. Like and subscribe if you have. Check out my website for all the workshops we have going on. I think we've only got one left on Hornby Island in Canada now. We have 4 left for Abruzzo next year, and I think we have 5 left for Tuscany as well. So check all of those out. See you next week. Take care. Bye bye.